Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
Welcome. I think that's my longest one. You are tuned into my weekly talk radio TV show called Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get balanced and get happy with Dr. Marissa. Every Tuesday at naturally high noon, broadcasting out of our new studios in Burbank, California with United Broadcasting Network Go and syndicated, replayed on my NBC CNBC channel KCAA AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5 every Saturday at 2 p.m. and always on demand at iHeartRadio. And this is a show about hope and happiness. So, no gossip, no scandal, and no K-words. No Kardashian talk at all, because I want you to focus on your own reality show and how you can be happy 88% of the time. And if you're just tuning in, you're wondering why 88? Well, if it's 100% of the time, you'd be dead. We don't want that. 88 because we need a little bit of contrast, which my lovely guest today actually talked about on the red carpet when I interviewed her. And 8 is a lucky number in Chinese. I know you thought I was Swedish, but I'm actually Chinese. And 8 is a homonym for good fortune. So double good fortune is your birthright. And that's why I say, I want you to be happy 88% of the time. And it is my mission, my Happy 88 mission, to help, cajole, teach, encourage 8 million people to be 88% happy in the next 8 years. So thank you for joining me on that and helping me out. And if you haven't already gotten your free happy tips, go to my website, drmarissa.life, and you can have free happy tips that for the next 8 days will help you be a little bit happier. And before I lose track of what I'm doing, I have a very, 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 very special guest to celebrate my 7th year on the air, on camera. Best thing that came out of my time at the Think and Grow Rich tour, which you all know was a fabulous launch off at Anaheim Convention Center. And then I was supposed to do San Diego, and I realized that I have a tendency to think that I'm Superwoman, and I'm not. And I want to do everything, and I can't. And especially since this is the first year of 8 Ways to Happiness from Wherever You Are, best-selling, on tour, doing all the media, I had to, unfortunately, leave the tour. But it's a great place for anyone that wants any idea of what Napoleon Hill was talking about when he said Think and Grow Rich, the mega best-selling book. And best to John Shin, the producer, and all of the other speakers on tour. And the best part of the tour for me was meeting a fellow speaker who actually had been offered up to me on the show a couple years ago when I was speaking at Secret Knock, and she'll tell you more of that story. But I want to introduce you now to someone who became the first armless pilot in aviation history. Her achievement earned her a Guinness World Record medal, invitations from 6 continents, was featured on TV programs like Ellen, Inside Edition, Fox and Friends, Oprah Winfrey Network, CNN, CBS Evening News, and the BBC. So she totally outdid me in the media, but I still like her. She has a 3rd-degree black belt, state champion in forms. She's a certified scuba diver, which we actually have in common, which we'll talk about later. Without further ado, we'll find out much more about her on today's show. Welcome live in studio, Jessica Cox. I am so delighted and honored and blessed to have you here in studio. I truly, when I heard her speak and I met her, I have no right to be on any stage because you are a true inspirational, motivational speaker. And I think you are the best speaker that's on that tour.
Oh,
So,
thank you
shit
so
to
much.
you.
Thank
Absolutely,
you.
absolutely. And I was like, we have to get her on the show, and it worked. In fact,
Here we are.
who was it? Your
My business coach from 2 years ago, Jeff Klubeck, saw you and said, you want to speak with her or have her on your show, and texted me while he was at an event where you were speaking. And then he said, you have to meet her. And here we are. I texted Jeff yesterday and said, I'm going to be on her show.
Thank you, Jeff. Peace in and peace out for starting that ball rolling 2 years ago.
Yes.
Luckily, most things since then we've. I feel like I know you a lot more. I did not want to ask you about your story too much because I love discovering on the air and in studio. So let's start at the beginning. You were born with a very rare condition.
Mm-hmm.
So explain that to my listening audience who's probably never heard of it because I never heard of it.
Well, there's still question as to exactly what it is. Some people call it a birth defect. Some people say it's called amelia, born without one or more limbs. And, whatever the terminology is, the doctors still have no idea how this happened. It was just a fluke thing that happened. My mom had a normal pregnancy. She went through the 9 months like she did with my brother and my sister, and they were born with their arms. She didn't even take an aspirin. So for her, she thought I was going to be a normal baby girl, and everyone in the operating room during the delivery thought the same thing until out I came, and that was the discovery for the whole world, and there was just silence in the operating room. My mom had a C-section, which she had that for my brother as well. And so it went silent in the room, and no one had this expectation. All the sonograms came back normal, and it was just that day of my birth that my parents and the doctor and the nurses and everyone in that room found out that here's a very abnormal situation with a baby without arms.
Wow. And you still cried like normal babies coming out.
Everything else was fine.
and they adjusted.
Mm-hmm.
And you did more than adjust. In your speech, you kind of have had this defiant, I'll show you attitude.
Yes.
When did you discover that you were different? That you remember?
I'm trying to remember back to the first time. I think I started becoming aware of my difference probably at toddler years, 2 or 3 years old. And it wasn't so much how my family treated me because they accepted me, and like you said, they adapted and adjusted, and it was all very normal.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was going out to public places like the grocery store where my mom would want to go pick up a couple groceries, there were these reactions from the outside world and from people who were not familiar with my story, who would be shocked. And they'd ask questions like, oh, poor baby, what happened? How did this, and my mom would be inundated with questions before I even had a voice. And I think that my psyche picked up on those cues and understood that I am different. And especially became aware of that when I started school. Because my mom brought me to a public school. She didn't want to hide me. She knew that I was going to have to be out there in the real world eventually. And so enrolled me in a public school, started to learn how to advocate for myself. She advocated for me. But it was a reality that by the time I started kindergarten, I knew that I was different.
Right. And different and exceptional, not different and less than. So talk about that journey, because I think a lot of us, when we discover we are different in any kind of way, because people are not kind, because people are well-meaning and sometimes more mean than well, we discover that difference equals less than, or difference equals something to be laughed at or made fun of. So Talk to me about that.
Well, it was very difficult to be different and at times felt very isolating. I mean, I would go up to my mom and ask her, Mom, why did God make me this way? Everyone else in the world has arms, at least in my world. Why is it that I am different? And she would say to me, and I think it helped me as a kid, she said, be patient, Jessica. God has a great plan for you. And
God
she was
bless her.
right. And she had to be the strong force in my life during the wavering years of questions and doubt and definitely, like you said, being bullied or picked on for your difference.
Right. And what flavor of Asian are you?
I love that question. And I feel blessed that I have a mother who is Filipina and an American father. So I have the best of both worlds. And it gave me a wonderful, balanced upbringing and definitely very different and learning both cultures as a youth.
Wow. I think I want to have a follow-up show with them because I would love to meet your mom. She sounds astounding and I'm sure very much the reason you have that let me show you attitude. And I love that. What's her name?
Inez, my mom Inez, who is definitely a living example.
Thank you, Inez. You've done an amazing job, and I know you're very proud.
And I'm proud of her.
Oh,
for
beautiful.
Is
she in?
Mom. Well,
in
my
Phoenix?
mother, she actually passed away, and it's going to be
She's
3
in heaven.
years. But I always still feel she's very much with me because she created who I am in a way when she created that foundation for me. And during those most difficult times, I sense that she's nearby.
That's
and when you call
beautiful.
on her, that even though she may not be there in the physical form, she's very much there.
Beautiful. I was just doing a Facebook Live about that yesterday because of Memorial Day. And my father is up there with your mom. And very much, I had a dream that they were all, huddled around this big screen TV. And I couldn't figure out what they were watching. But every once in a while, they would get up and go, yay, yay. So in the dream, I flew in real close. And they were watching a big screen TV of me. And cheering me on, and that's what they're doing for you. Absolutely.
So true.
Absolutely.
Yes.
If you've just tuned in and you are wondering who I have live in studio today, it is Jessica Cox, and she is an extraordinary, she's the living embodiment of someone who does not let anything, I don't think anything really can stop you from doing the things that you have done in your life. And so let's talk about those things. So Guinness World Book of Records pilot. Tell me how the heck a girl growing up without arms who knows she's different suddenly gets a dream that to be a pilot. I mean, come on.
Well, it started there with my mom saying, you can do anything. I mean, if it means going to the moon, if it means flying a plane, if it means becoming a medical doctor. For a while there, I even wanted to do medicine.
Wow.
And the fact that I didn't have arms and hands never really fazed me. I was just going to have to figure out a new mold for those gloves that they need in medical school and having to become a doctor.
Right.
So I went into school thinking I'd become a doctor, but then I had this wonderful opportunity. My whole idea of what was possible was never closed in, and anything. And when you're at that very young age, fresh out of college, and you want to, the whole world is at your fingertips, or for me at my toe tips, you're open to opportunity. And I had the opportunity to go up on my first flight in a small plane. And I thought, well, this is pretty neat. I mean, initially I was scared of it because I was terrified of flying. But I went up on my first flight and I made a commitment on that first flight that I was going to do everything, whatever it takes to become a certified pilot to fly.
And tell a little bit about that story, because I love that. I heard that from stage. You get into the plane, you see the seats, you see a buckle-in apparatus that everybody has to use.
Yes.
And you didn't want anybody to help you, right? Then?
Well, I had to figure this out at some point because I was going to fly that plane alone. And the first thing that even before turning on the engine, was buckling into the 4-point safety harness, because you have to be secure and safe. And sitting there, I realized that my legs were very limited in the seat. So I had to change my perspective and reach, which is what I teach audiences when I speak, is shifting the perspective of any challenge is what helps you tear it apart in a different way. So I tore apart this challenge of buckling my harness up, but instead of sitting in the seat, standing in the seat, buckling the seatbelt first because my feet could reach it while standing in the seat.
Got it.
And then sliding my body inside the harness.
Yes.
And tightening it the rest of the way.
Yes. Your feet. When did you discover that you could basically do as much with your feet as you could with arms? Was that a gradual thing? Did your mother say, "Hey, use your feet"?
Yeah.
What was that?
Well, for what it is, I mean, most people don't do the things that I do with my toes from text messaging. And so it's not normal for a regular society for people with arms and hands. But since day one, my mom was instructed that if she would just learn to pass things off to me to my feet, I would adapt and eventually use my feet as hands. So I think the doctors did know that much. And so she would hand me my toys while I was in the crib. She'd hand me my doll. Instead of handing it to my hand, she would just pass it over to my foot. And I'd reach with my toes and grab my doll between my big toe and second toe. And that's how I began to explore the world like any baby who grabs things and put things in their mouth and, feels things and discovers what the world is about. I discover the world through my feet.
Right.
From the beginning.
Right. I remember, and I'm going to do this now just so you, she asked me if I had a card when we were at the event, and I pulled it out and I handed it to her. And I don't know if the camera can catch this. Reach a little this way? Yeah. This way. Okay. So she grabbed my card. Go ahead, grab the card. And then she stuck it in her shoe. And I'm like, oh, wow. And it was very natural. And do you get a kick out of people's expressions when you use your feet?
I do, because it becomes more memorable. Because how many people reach over with their foot? Some people are not comfortable with feet, honestly. And some people are. Some people are, shocked. Some people are impressed.
Yeah.
They're like, they're like, should I take that for you? And I say, I'm keeping it safe in my shoe.
Right. Right. Totally impressed. Totally. I had to, just sort of go, wow. And I think that is just, well, we're going to get to that because I also want to give you an award a little bit later on, because it's not just you remind me of a friend of mine, Larry Wilkes, who's now in heaven as well. He used to say, the only handicap in life is a bad attitude.
That was his quote. I love that quote.
Well, I don't know if he stole it from somebody, but isn't that a great quote?
It's powerful.
It's very powerful, because he was very, very active and had a stroke, and he went from doing everything to not being able to do anything, and still would dance in his wheelchair and paint and do all the things, and he would be known for that. So you embody the spirit of Larry Wilkes for sure. So, okay, so you became a pilot. That wasn't enough. I don't know if the Taekwondo came before or after that, but you're also a black belt. So did you enroll? Did you grow up and just do that whole thing like kids do?
Yes. It started off as a kids thing that parents bring their kids to the Taekwondo school to help them develop more confidence and have self-defense, because it's a protective nature of a parent to want their child to be able to defend themselves.
Yes.
And I'm sure my mom probably thought, maybe I might look a little more vulnerable without arms, so it's even more important.
Right.
So she brought all three of us, my brother, my sister, and myself, to Taekwondo class, and the instructor said, speaking of attitude, the instructor said, I'll take her on as a student under one condition, as long as she has a good attitude. So
there you
out.
go.
Yeah.
There you go. Did you, I don't know what the term is, not wrestle, but did you take on your brother and your sister in?
Oh boy, I fought my brother and sister. It was pretty sibling rivalry. We were close in age, and I guess my sister got tired of being kicked, and so she thought maybe my mom thought Taekwondo might be good because Taekwondo emphasizes kicks. Turns out it did. It saved my siblings a little bit of pain.
So they learned how to defend themselves instead of vice versa. Is that what you're saying?
And I channeled it into a martial art instead of on them.
Oh, there you go. There you go. So you actually have a third degree black belt?
Third degree black belt in Taekwondo, and in 2014 earned the state champ title with my division. For 4 forms, as you mentioned earlier. So
I can only imagine. I mean, now I'm sure in the circles, everyone knows of you. And so if they're slotted to fight you, they're not surprised, or I'm sure they're more intimidated instead of, oh, this will be easy. This is going to be hard.
Well, not everyone knows me. And I will say, when they know that they're sparring against me, sometimes they feel like, well, maybe I should just not use my arms at all. But then it gives me an advantage because then I start and they're like, oh, she's not holding back, so why should I hold back? So it works at first, and then they catch on quickly.
Yeah. And that's the most, admiring thing and wonderful thing getting to know you is it completely changes my whole perception of, and I like the way you say it's not disabled. Right? Mm-hmm. It truly is not disabled. Say the term that you got.
It's differently abled.
Differently abled. Mm-hmm. And it's so true. It's unfortunate. She was stalking my Facebook, and she saw that I was going out sailboat racing, and y'all know I do that. And so she's like, oh, I would love to go out on the boat. And so we were trying to organize it. Mm-hmm. And I can remember telling some of my, another boat, that wanted you. Uh-huh. And they were like, oh, we'll put a tether or a harness or so to compensate. Uh-huh. And I looked at them in the eye and I said, you have no idea. She needs you better watch yourself. You're going to lose your position because she can do more than you can ever imagine. Yeah, it's truly amazing. Thanks. Speaking of which, something I saw you do on stage was very unbelievable, mm-hmm. and you kindly agreed, mm-hmm. and that is to she does everything herself, including opening your own soda.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see this right now. Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna scoot my chair back.
Yep.
To get a little leverage here. So
yep.
I'm very right foot dominant.
That's her Instagram, by the way.
Yep. Like that. I balance the can under the lip there so I can bring it up to my mouth.
Do you like it? It's grapefruit.
It's good. It's not too sweet. That's good. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Unbelievable. And as usual, that didn't come on first try. And we talked about this in the car. Mm-hmm. People who think they can do things in one try or overnight success or shortcut anything are robbing themselves. I can't even imagine how many times you tried to do that and the can fell, didn't open, how many times would you say you had to try that?
Well, it's countless.
Countless, right?
Countless times. But for people also who are more challenged, they've had to learn how to develop more perseverance and resilience because maybe the first time doesn't work, mm-hmm. especially if, I share that when I speak. I say when you're doing something the first time, it doesn't always work out. Sometimes you have to go through multiple ways of thinking outside the shoe, is my saying, and not giving up and being persistent because I didn't know that I could hold that can underneath right there. There's a little bit of a lip on the bottom of the can. Yeah. Because I knew that my foot cannot wrap around that entire can like someone would with their hand. For one, my toes are shorter. Mm-hmm. So reaching underneath the can was going to be the best way for me to bring it up to my mouth and ended up working out.
And for those of you who think that I was out of line to ask her to do that on camera, the reason why I did is exactly for what she's saying right now. I think that there's so much people don't understand about problem solving. They don't understand about challenges and how they tantamount to developing who we are. And so instead of avoiding challenges or getting frustrated to the point of giving up, your message of never give up. You never have to give up. There's nothing that you need to give up for, or there's nothing that you cannot figure out a way if you approach something in a completely, that saying, you can't solve a problem with the same energy that created the problem.
That's good.
Right?
Yes, that's true.
Right? And so when you said that, I went, oh, that's it. Yeah. And so you're a living example, which is why I'm giving you Dr. Marissa's Beneficial Presence on the Planet Award. Not every guest gets it. One of these days I'll actually have something that I can give you, but just the title, and I have, a wall with only the people that got that.
Thank you.
Out of 300, and we're on 370 consecutive weeks on the air. And of the 370 guests, I would say maybe, I don't even think I have 100. So you're in that top 100.
Oh,
yeah,
thank you.
Because, and it's even before what you do, because we're going to get to that when we come back from break. The things that you actually do as a result, you've taken all of this and turned it around into a platform to help.
Yes.
Which is, usually that's why I give the award. But I'm giving the award for two reasons. That, which we'll find out after the break, but most of all, because your spirit is so unbelievable. Like you have no idea. I'm sure you do have an idea, but you touch me in a way that I just can't even imagine. So, anybody that thinks that they cannot, or it's too much for them, or it's not possible, or why did God do this? Or, hello. So that's why I'm giving you the award. So thank you for inspiring me.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
an honor. Thank you so much.
Tears are the disinfectant that keep your heart soft. So don't ever apologize for crying. All right. And it is time, I believe, to thank the sponsors who make this show possible. If you are a like-minded, love-hearted individual that would like to be attached to me and my broadcasts, then please do contact me for very affordable rates to keep the show on the air in the 7th year. It does take money, energy. We're always looking for good sponsors, like the following one, who was kind enough to support this particular show. And we'll be back in 2 and 2. Remember, it's all about balance. Peace in, peace out. That's world peace through inner peace. Want to believe in the American dream again? Then read the book, The $2 American Dream by speaker, coach, and entrepreneur Riyadh Hamdi. Arriving from Tunisia with only $2 in his pocket and one English word, job, Riyadh inspires hope in this true story of his journey in America. Learn what he did, said, and dreamt to make it in America, and how you can too. Get the book at riyadhamdi.com. That's RIADHHAMDI.com today. Are you 88% happy? Are you tired of saying you'll be happy when you finish school, make $1 million, have that house, have that car, have that marriage, get that divorce? Are you sure you won't run out of time before you are finally happy? Well, if you're ready to be happy now, then schedule a free happiness discovery call with Dr. Marissa, #1 best-selling author of 8 Ways to Happiness from wherever you are. Because you deserve to be happy, and you can choose to be happy, I promise. And we are back. You are tuned into my weekly talk radio TV show called Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It. Get happy with Dr. Marissa every Tuesday, a live show every other Tuesday at a naturally high noon here out of Burbank, California with UBN Go Radio TV, and then every Saturday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on my syndicated CNBC, NBC News Radio channel KCAA, voted #1 FM station in Southern California. KCAA AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and then on demand anytime on iHeartRadio, Stitcher, TuneIn, iTunes, YouTube. We are everywhere. So please keep it here. And thank you so much for your continued support. I am delighted to have Jessica Cox in studio with me. If you missed the first half, you can get it on Saturday or on YouTube later on. But Jessica, you not only have done all that you've done with the Guinness World Book of Record armless pilot, taekwondo, scuba diving, you also have published a beautiful book, which is going to be an Asian Oprah giveaway, so stay tuned for the Balance Bar. And then a movie that has more awards. Like, I just scroll through the awards, like, is this ever going to end? So please tell us about those two things and then how to get them.
The book Disarm Your Limits is on Amazon. And you can also contact us about that as well. And that's on my website, jessicacox.com. Easiest way, though, Amazon. Disarm Your Limits, the flight formula to lift you to success and propel you to the next horizon. And the documentary called Right Footed, it actually was just shown on television on Friday. So it was at 5 o'clock and 8 p.m.
On what channel?
It was on it was on the National Geographic for over 80 countries around the world. But this was also a smaller channel. I don't have the channel here in front of me, but that was just a smaller channel. But it was on Fuse TV as well a couple months ago.
And it's your producer or your director Nicholas Sparks.
Nick Spark is right here in LA. And he dedicated and did such a wonderful job with the documentary. That's why it's won so many awards.
Yeah, totally. Now, this is not the writer, Nicholas Sparks.
No,
okay.
This is a different
I interviewed him. I was going to ask you beforehand, but so that's amazing. And so people can watch that by going to your site, and there's a thing to click there.
In fact, it's on Amazon Prime right now, Right Footed.
It is?
Yes.
I get to watch it. For free. I got busted. I'm on Amazon Prime, right?
There you go.
Well, that's wonderful.
Look up Right Footed.
I'm going to be watching that tonight.
Great.
So you also help people who are differently abled. So talk about that a bit.
Well, I spoke, I have had the opportunity and the blessing to speak in 23 countries around the world. And I realized that as a person with a disability or differently abled, but it is more globally the term disabled.
Yes.
People in other countries who are challenged physically face a lot of obstacles. And I have been fortunately blessed to have been born here in the United States and not only had an education, but now as an entrepreneur, as a speaker, and the freedoms of learning to fly a plane. And the reality is that's not true for everyone around the world, especially when you have something that is physically different about you. And so I've been able to reach out and create a community of support for not only women who are also born without arms, but also reaching them with our YouTube channel to do episodes about how do we deal with challenges like getting dressed on our own, and to hopefully inspire people that they can find a way. As you were saying, if you don't ever give up, you'll find a way to accomplish or face anything. One of the most watched videos is how do you get your pants on when you don't have arms? Well, we use special tools. I just hang my pants on a dressing hook that sticks on the wall, and I wiggle my way into my pants. So these type of challenges that you find a way to figure it out.
Okay. Yeah. So there's just so many questions. The one let's go back to when you were young and you asked your mom, why did God make me without arms? I think the answer to that would be tremendously helpful to my listeners who are differently abled maybe and see what has happened to them as a punishment. So what not advice necessarily, but what helped you?
Well, it's definitely not a punishment in any way. And I know that some cultures may see it as something maybe was done in a previous life. And this is, there's all these different stigmas and unfortunate, the reputation of what disability is. It's unfortunate. But in reality, it's just, this was a fluke thing. I just happened to be born without arms. And everyone happens to be born with something, whether it's something physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically. Some people are born into broken families. Some people are
7 out of
born
10.
poor. Everyone has something. But we also have the choice of how it will affect our lives.
Our most powerful tool is choice, right?
Yes.
How we choose to see it. So you were able to have that belief, that BS, that belief system reinforced by a loving home. Can you look into the camera and maybe give people who don't have a support system a little bit of encouragement right now?
To all of you watching who don't feel you have the same support system, I just want to share with you that you can get through your challenges. And you may be in a difficult moment right now, but sometimes it's the difficulties that create us, help us to build up our strength and our perseverance. So don't ever give up. And if you're in a tough moment, just use that as an opportunity to learn and to grow. But don't ever give up, and you'll be surprised how you'll come out of that stronger and better than you were before.
Ooh, love it, love it. I'm so glad I had the idea to ask you to do that, because that's going to be a nice separate little clip that's going to be broadcast quite a bit. That's amazing. So are there days, though, that you wake up and you don't feel quite as motivated, positive? What do you do then?
Well, we're all human, so we have to have those moments of self-doubt or unmotivation or something that, we're faced with.
Yeah.
We don't always wake up ready to go.
Yep.
Some people are more so than others, but there are those days. And what do? Well, we have to just do one more thing that gets us closer to the goal. And we also have to realize that moment or that difficult day is going to help us recognize and realize what the better days are.
True.
So we
The
have
contrast.
to have those, the contrast of a bad day versus a good day. If all days were good, how would we know what was a good day?
Do you have any mottos or credos that you use on yourself to sort of kickstart or put you back into that track?
Yeah, sometimes I have to just envision what the goal is, because sometimes that helps pull you a little closer, especially if what you're faced with right in front of you may be a little difficult. Just have to kind of remind yourself, what is it you're trying to accomplish?
Right. So keeping the goal in mind.
Yes.
Yeah. Is this helping me get there or hurting me get there? Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you were saying that on the carpet that you don't necessarily say that to yourself, but it's in your head. Yeah, absolutely. And then you have a beautiful husband that I met, Patrick. How did that happen?
Well, I always wondered my whole youth and young adulthood about, would I be able to find someone who loved me for who I am? Because obviously the fact that I don't have arms is so shockingly obvious that sometimes people get too hung up on that. They fail to see the person underneath.
Got it.
And there are obviously a lot of men who are hung up on the physical, and regardless of what that is, and some men can't see past it. So I wanted to find someone who loved me for who I am and who could see past that, and Patrick was the blessing.
Oh, how did you know? Like what was the turning point or that magic moment? I'm prying.
We were practicing Taekwondo together because he's a 4th degree black belt in Taekwondo.
Well, that helps.
And we had this shared passion of Taekwondo. That's how we met.
Oh.
And then he was teaching us in a school, and I came in to get some extra hours in so I could work up to a world championship. And then he was there, and I had never met him, and we had mutual friends. And so after we were on the mat, we left out and had hung out more in the in the non-professional way, because you don't really hook up with someone in a Taekwondo school. It's you're not supposed to do that, especially if someone's an instructor.
You don't hit the mat that way.
No.
Oh, sorry.
It's true. So we hung out outside of the school at friends' houses during game nights, and we got to know each other more in that way. And it was wonderful how it worked out.
Oh,
yes.
and
we've been married
when
7
was
years now.
7
Yes.
years. Wow, that's so awesome. That is so awesome. I just I was hoping he would come in, but he didn't
Yes.
want to be on camera.
Well,
so
yeah, he wasn't quite prepared. And
that's okay. He got you here on time,
He
which
did.
is amazing. You drove up from
Fallbrook, and that
That's-
traffic was something else,
Yes.
I'll tell you.
Yeah, welcome to LA. It is unfortunately what it is. But so what next? You've done a movie, you've got a book, you're helping people, you're speaking. What's your next your next amazing, I'm going to see it in the news. What are you going to do now?
I mean, I was recently on CNN just last week for doing what's called your flight review. And as a pilot, you have to stay current. And it's critical because you can't just fly one day and then 6 months later get in a plane and take off.
Okay.
You have to keep up your skill level.
Okay.
And
Like
I
a
did
CDA.
my biannual flight review. CNN was there. It was right out of Long Beach. With
Wow,
with
that's
a
so
pilot
cool.
friend Ron and his Air Coupe airplane, and he took me up, and I passed my my flight review, and so that was my goal. And now I'm working towards my 4th degree black belt in Taekwondo.
I knew there was another one in there. Is Patrick going to get his 5th?
Yes,
So,
and he's working
because he
towards-
has to, we got to stay on top of the mat.
Yes, it's true. And so he's going to work towards that this summer. I'll be working towards my 4th degree. And there are always challenges that kind of cross my path. One of them was rock climbing. So figuring out a way to develop a harness for someone without arms to scale up a rock or do rock climbing.
Now, that's a requirement for 4th degree?
No, this is a total side hobby.
I
rock
knew it.
climbing.
I knew there was something else. Did I tell? Yeah. So rock climbing. Oh, no problem.
Yeah.
I don't even like that, and I have my arms. But good for you. I'd rather see you below the ocean. We can go scuba diving.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll let you do the rocks. But I'm sure we'll all get to see you doing your next accomplishment, whatever it is. My last question always on the air with my guests is, who or what are you most grateful to or for?
Wow, I feel so blessed and so grateful that to narrow it down to one item. Oh, this is hard. This is okay. I'll have to narrow it down to something that has always empowered me, and I have to say it's my faith in God and how that has guided me throughout my life. In those low moments, in those high moments, in those questionable moments as a child, it has to be the overarching power that has helped me for sure.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, he definitely shines his love and light on you, and you definitely shine it through. And words cannot express the love and power and peace and blessings that I want you to always feel wherever you go. And thank you, xie, for everything that you do to help everyone, and most of all for being who you are, exactly as you are. You are honestly the most beautiful inside and out person I've ever met.
Oh,
And I've met a lot of people, so I'm really, really grateful that we got to meet, and we're going to continue. We're starting a mastermind together, so if you're someone who wants to join us, let us know, to encourage each other in doing this light work on the planet, to know that there's nothing wrong with you. There's everything right with you, and we just have to grab that. Yes?
yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Peace and blessings. Peace and peace out. I'm not done, but I just wanted to say thank you again. Because it is that time on the show where I invite you to step up to my balance bar. And that's to let you know what's going on and how to join me. So you heard in the commercial that you can always contact me on my free discovery call. Go to drmarissa.life, use the scheduler, and you'll get an assessment to see if we can work together to get you to 88% happy. As well, if you have any questions that you wouldn't mind sharing on the air, I do have a new show on Thursdays called Don't Worry, Choose Happy. And please do contact my call-in producer, Rochelle Orcega, either on Facebook or you can contact me and I'll put her in touch with her so you do not have to wait in line. But that's every Thursday at noon. And you can call in anytime if you don't want to schedule with her and just wait in line. It's 816-251-3555. And if you call that number during that time, you will get in queue and just tell my great sound engineer, either Louis Pagan or Jeff Comfort, to put you on with me. As well, thank you to my fabulous sound engineer here at UBN Go, Tony Sweet, and on my CNBC channel, Joe Pagano. So thank you for all the support that you do to support this show. Please go to my Instagram, Doc Balance, and connect there, as well as 8 Ways to Happiness from wherever you are. Hit its 8th bestseller list, #1 Amazon, #4 Denver Post, 4 book medals. I am so grateful and so wanting to every single day. I walked into the nail salon yesterday and someone there had bought the book and she let me record her voice saying how the book had changed her life. So it's not, I know it sounds like ego, but it truly is because I want you to be happy 88% of the time. And it shares my story on how I was not happy even 1% of the time, and what I did to get out of that with the tools in the book so you can get there too. So please, please, please do take advantage of that. Let's see. Oh, it is on audiobook. Also, you can get that on my drmarissa.life as well as audiobooks. I am also going to use my Asian Oprah giveaway for Jessica Cox's book. And the name of that book again? Disarm Your Limits. So to the first person that gets a free happy tip sheet at drmarissa.life, please do put your address there and we'll get the book to you. Peace in, peace out. Shout out to the amazing audience that I had at Google last week, as well as I got to do the keynote commencement speech at the San Diego Civic Center for Alliant International University. If you are looking for an educational and entertaining speaker, I am looking for new platforms to splatter more hope and happiness too. So please do contact me for that. And we will be back in 2 weeks for another amazing show with another amazing repeat guest who just hit Billboard #1 again. My twin sister, who I met on the red carpet at the Long Beach Jazz Festival years ago. We discovered the first time she came on the air with me that we have so much in common. 2 daughters, a husband, not to brag about, that we are Chinese and Japanese, but we have brought the love between the 2 countries. It turns out we're not just sharing the same year of the ox on the Chinese astrology. We are actually both Leos and born 2 weeks apart. So she's now my twin sister. She asked to come back on to celebrate her new album, Echo. So if you haven't got it, go get it. Hit #1, several categories. She'll be here live in studio in 2 weeks. So keep it tuned to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa and get happy with Dr. Marissa, because it is all about balance. Peace in and peace out. That's world peace through inner peace.